How long have I been working in general? 35 and a half years. I started in the fitness industry for, well, did some really odd jobs and just realized I didn't want to work in factories and work in restaurants. I then took on a job at a fitness club, spent some time there, realized this isn't going to be good. I then fell into the insurance industry. I wanted to do something that helped people and that would make me money. So it was 34 years of the insurance industry. So most of my time was in the insurance industry. I was a senior vice president in my role as an insurance consultant, insurance broker, consultant for clients, managing their risk. Like my salary was based on a 35-hour work week. I didn't have a 35-hour work week. I probably spent anywhere from some days it was only 8, but most days was 10 to 12 hours. Majority of the time in front of a computer. I enjoyed a lot of little things about it. I enjoyed people interaction. I really enjoyed solving problems. Learning, it was a nonstop learning. I was always learning about insurance itself. I was always learning about what my clients did, aspects of their business, unique intricate things about what they were manufacturing, what they were making, how they were promoting themselves to to their consumers and such. Um, but with it, of course, was a lot of unenjoyable things. The hours spent on solving problems sometimes, I was, for many years, felt like I was strapped to a desk. Yeah, there'd be fun going out to clients, being involved in meetings, meeting underwriters. That part was always enjoyable because I love talking to people. I enjoyed people. I'm a people person. Having conversations was great, but I was a bit of a workaholic. So I really wanted to do well, and because I really wanted to do well, meant I spent a lot of time in an office at a desk, sitting, bent over desk, like computers, keyboards, reading information, writing things out. And of course, along the way, I was always educating myself. So that too was a lot of time spent sitting, focusing on insurance. And there were some dry points to it. There's no doubt there's some dry points to insurance. With respect to education, I myself, when I was younger, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I wanted to do something. I came from a very poor family, and I knew I wanted to do better than my parents had done. My mom and dad pretty much didn't know how to read and write. My dad, I think, went up to grade 5. I think my mother went further, but then she ended up having mental illness, which took her away from things and made her life challenging. Um, but I just knew I wanted to do something more. When I finished high school, I finished within 3.5 years of high school because you only needed 27 credits, so I got them done really quickly. Got out, went into the workforce, and boom, I just went crazy with work. I couldn't afford to go to college. I couldn't go to university. I wasn't going to go and borrow money from anybody to do that because I was terrified of how to pay that back and how much it would take and how long it would take to pay that back. So I literally just found something I enjoyed and then educated myself at the time. Went through night school, lots of courses at night, so I'd work long hours during the day, spend time at night school, and then spend weekends and such focusing on those things and at the same time trying to balance a family and family life and raising a child. My plan was to retire at 62 because that was when my pension was going to pay out the best for me. I retired at 53 instead. There was a key catalyst, but leading up to that, I noticed in my 40s I was constantly having accidents, and it's because I was overstressing my body. I flew out one day to see a client. It was many hours on a plane, in a car, for a 1 hour meeting, back in a car, back in a plane, back home. I literally touched planes, trains, and automobiles. It felt like all in one day. And then the very next day, I had to go see a sister company there and drive all day. And then I went out for dinner at a friend's, and we were walking down their back stairs, and I was just exhausted. It was a Friday night, but wanted to see friends, wanted to be social, balance of life and work life and home life, and I tripped and fell. And I bet you if I wasn't tired, I wouldn't have done that. But there's different things like that. Anyway, many accidents, many injuries, tennis elbow from working at a desk. That was a lot of fun. Um, Hit by a car, broke this elbow, riding home from work. But the last accident was a key catalyst, and it was a simple little accident that happened in a kitchen, defrosting hamburgers. And no, I just had to use a steak knife to separate frozen items, and one little slip caused this little itsy bitsy teeny weeny cut in my pinky finger. And that little cut changed my world completely. This little knuckle right in here, right in there. It was cut with the steak knife as I slid down. Um, they had to reattach it. The surgery, the first surgery, was quite intense, and it ended up being the stitch line comes up over here, comes up back up this way, across the knuckle, and then up the finger this way. There was 20 stitches, so they literally opened it up and reattached the tendon. And yeah, I was stuck like this for a very long time. That was not fun at all. But because of the tendon, I wasn't aware of this going in, of course, initially when it first happened, but all your tendons are attached. So all your fingers come through, and there's actually a webbing that goes from side to side as well, but they all come together, including your thumb, and they all come through your wrist, and they all run down this way. They come up and through, and so when one is detached, you can't use your hand. One thing I didn't realize either too when it first happened is the more you move, the more it drops. And the lower it drops, the harder it is to find and pull back up to reattach. But when I did have it reattached, the other thing is that I could not use this hand in any way, shape, or form, because if I did, the stitching could let go. And they said that there was no second surgery if it detached. I would have lost complete use of my pinky, basically. And it just would have been like this. They would have had to do something where I could use the rest of my hand, but this would have been like a dead finger. And I can't even imagine what that would be like, because it just would have been there. And I don't know what they do in that situation. I didn't actually want to know. I went, okay, you cannot move your hand. You cannot do anything because this is really serious. And so I was trapped like this. And that's when I realized I cannot function. I knew once I realized just how severe the injury was, and it was to my dominant hand, I knew I couldn't work through that again. Another injury, working through it with the stress levels that I had was a lot. And I knew I couldn't survive that again. I just couldn't do it. I knew my desk days were over, regardless of standing desks, things to help me work, voice to text, whatever. I was done. I was just done. I needed to start taking care of me because I could tell my health was in dire straits. I realized that second stage of life, I'd like to become a fitness trainer, go back to what I started with, maybe. When I first started working, I really enjoyed working at a gym. I thought, well, I could probably do this part-time. This would be good. But it took me some time. I had to heal myself first. I had to de-stress. I had to improve my sleep, because, of course, you can't really perform well if you don't sleep well. You have to be de-stressed if stress impacts your health and well-being. And then I dug in. I think it was about September I started looking at it, took a step back before going into the course. Actually took time to read the book, did the course, did a theory exam, thankfully passed, was petrified going into that exam, didn't think I was going to do well because it'd been so long since I wrote an exam. Was I studying the right things? Did I have it right? Did I understand it right? But thankfully passed. Very excited about that. Now I'm working on the second stage of the certification, which is my practical. That's a little bit nervy, but I have faith I'll get through it. And the other thing I need is my CPR, which I'm not too worried about because I do have familiarity with CPR because that was something that I maintained through the years and didn't do it as often as I needed to because I didn't have to, but it's something that I still know very well. As much as I loved my career and my clients and the work that I was doing, the stress level was just not healthy. It was killing me, and I'm far happier today than I've ever been. Um, I have music in my head again. I can sleep better. I'm actually dreaming. I can smile at people and feel genuine in the smile. I just want to help people and make them feel good as best as I can. And at least I can have the compassion and patience and empathy for everything that they're going through because I've been there and I understand completely the stress levels the of what they're going through and the balance of home life, career, and trying to get fitness and wellness into that. But it is needed because it makes you a better person having that balance.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're done.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry again for that